We just got confirmation of the continuation of this bull run. And so for XRP and some of our other assets, we're not going anywhere. I'm going to show you in this episode why the CPI lie report that came out today, everybody's freaking out about, is actually confirmation that this bull run is going to continue and we're going to be moving higher for these assets. Folks, stay tuned. ZachRector.com for all of our community resources. Check it out. So getting started here, the CPI lie came out today, and it officially jumped by 0.5% in 1 month, the largest increase since August of 2023. Now, this is on the CPI. Now we move over to the core CPI inflation. Remember, core is what strips out food and energy. And let me know in the comments down below if you don't need food and energy. If that's not important to you, then the core CPI is for you. Now, core, which strips out these vital essentials, was expected to fall to 3.1%, but instead rose to 3.3%. Well, this is what we've been talking about. Inflation was not going away. The Fed pivoted too soon, pivoted too drastically, and the inflation was going to come roaring back. And I'm going to show you what this means for our assets. Now, you're not going to be able to survive, though, if you don't understand how bad this inflation is, if you haven't been figuring out how to make more money, how to bring it in. And I've been warning about this since 2022, when we did enter a technical recession, but it was politically incorrect to call it one. Here is the compounded inflation since 2020. The US government has stolen 26.1% of your purchasing power since 2020 through inflation. This is for the Truflation US Aggregate Inflation Index. So what they give us is these numbers, 3% year over year. The month over month growth was 0.5%. Don't worry about it. No big deal. And even Powell is testifying in front of Congress today saying that, we thought inflation was going to be transitory in 2021. And it's like, well, no, duh. Yes, of course, it was one of the biggest blunders and wrong calls you guys have made. One would suggest that either you're just that stupid or you were trying to rug pull America by design, right? And when you compound this and you add this aggregate inflation, this really paints the picture for you, because we're not talking about 3%. We're talking over the course of a few years, a quarter of your wealth has been stripped away. And so Darth Powell makes a good couple points here. If you're not making over 26% more money than 2020, you're poorer. If your net worth hasn't risen by 26.1% since 2020, you're poorer, which is why in 2022, I put out my recession to-do list. The first thing wasn't crypto, go find the next 10x gem. It was income. Focus on securing your job. Make sure that you're not about to get laid off. And we're finding out how many of these jobs numbers were actually fake. It's absolutely ridiculous. Don't get me started on that manipulation. So we said secure your income and expand your income has to be the number one focused recession to-do list 2022. And how great was that advice? As we've seen, inflation did not go away. But here's the good news. Here's what you guys came for. Let me deliver it real quick. Sheldon the Sniper points out that the CPI data marked the last 5 bottoms for Bitcoin and possibly even more from further back. Please prepare. And so you look at this chart, when the CPI is getting released, this is actually marking bottoms on the Bitcoin chart. Now, I'm going to show you here real quick that I noticed, Bare Naked Crypto, he points out that these were all, bullishly CPI, basically saying that these were good CPI reports. No, they weren't. No, they weren't. For the talking head pundits on CNBC, yes. For the suits and the paper pushers and, these guys, these economists that are sharpening their little pencil and, oh yeah, inflation only ticked up by 0.1%. Don't worry about it, guys. For those guys, it was good reports. We've been pounding the table here saying that this is absolutely terrible. The lie, how big of a lie it is. You need to double and you need to round up. And when you look at the aggregate, we're talking about 26% plus. When you're looking at things of real value that you need, products and services in everyday life, you could see that aggregate compounded inflation. Some of these things you're paying 100%, 200% more than you were back in 2020. So it's an absolute joke. None of these CPI reports were good. It was just talking head pundit economists that were saying it was good and spoon feeding the masses that you shouldn't worry about your 401ks and retirement accounts getting wiped out. You shouldn't worry about your cost of living. And so what did they do? They tried to cut rates. Back in September, they delivered our first rate cut. After pausing all through, the end of 2023 into 2024, it was the pause, the great pause, and we barely survived that. And then they started to cut rates to relieve us and basically to save the day to try to get Biden elected. Well, they failed. And so, folks are pointing out that these were good CPI reports. This one's not good, so maybe it's not going to be bullish for Bitcoin in the markets. No, that's only more reason why these assets are going to go higher. Gold has already broken up nearly to $3,000 per ounce. XRP's already ran up 600% since the election. Bitcoin already achieved 55% its previous all-time high. These assets are going higher. Let me show you the chart here. This is the United States Fed funds interest rate. Remember, here's the pause. All through 2023, we left rates unchanged at 5.5%. Then in September, that's when they cut. And it was a big 50 basis point cut from 5.5 down to 5%. So a big jumbo cut in September to get the party started. And then they proceeded to cut a few more times. And now we're back to a pause in January. Just this last month, we got the pause from Powell. But let me show you this next chart right here. And you're going to see what I'm talking about. So what happened was, folks are saying, oh, these CPI reports were good. No, they weren't. Go back to 2024. August 2024, before we got the Fed rate cut, they only got inflation down to 2.5%. In September, it was tracked at 2.4%, but that was the bottom. Perfectly coinciding with the Fed cutting interest rates, and now we're moving higher. October 2.6, November 2.7, and December 2.9, and now here in January, 3%. So please explain to me how those were good CPI reports as it continued to go higher. And I've been pounding the table about this for the last 4 months, saying that we're heading in the wrong direction, and we didn't even get close to their 2% target. Let's see where this is lining up with the 70s. QE Infinity. So far, we are following the same pattern almost perfectly. There's a second wave of inflation coming, and I've been talking about this. This is the Trump pump, and it will only be fueled by the trade war. If that continues, it only goes higher. You see the matchup here from the 70s being that blue line, the black line down here being where we're currently at. We're about to take off into a second wave of inflation. You want another data point to confirm that? Well, here's the U.S. House Republicans, Republican in name only. What does Republican even mean anymore? Republican, Democrat. At this point, it's either you're America first or you're selling out the American people. That's how I view it. Don't tell me you're D, you're R, you're up, you're down, you're left, you believe in this or you believe in that. Do you actually stand to save this country and restore our republic and reduce our deficit down to zero and figure out a way to restructure this debt? Or do you want to just keep kicking the can down the road and selling out the American people and our children? U.S. House Republicans propose a $4 trillion debt limit increase and $4.5 trillion in tax cuts. Now, the tax cuts, I appreciate it. The fact that there's $4.5 trillion worth of tax cuts to be done shows you just how much we're being taxed. That's a problem. And that's also not included in the CPI lie either. Now, the idea that we should raise our debt limit by $4 trillion is absurd. It is asinine, but it only fuels this narrative. And it's once again, my speculation, and this is backed by real data. This is backed by historical data, just like we saw in the 70s. And look at what the asset prices did back then too. We're going higher. These assets are going higher. Are we in a bull run? Yes. Is the bull run going to continue? Yes. We're going to go set new highs for Bitcoin, XRP, and some of your other favorite cryptocurrencies. Now, if you're holding a bag of crap, I can't help you. If you're holding Mickey Mouse meme coin, I can't help you. Okay? You're on your own. Now, this is what's taking place in DC while this is all going down. Over 3 times more people in DC are Googling criminal defense lawyer than anywhere else in the United States. Must be a coincidence. I don't know. Maybe there's something going on there. I don't know what's going on in DC. Why there's so much searching for criminal defense attorneys. Such a strange coincidence. Brian Quintes, congratulations. He has been honored, been nominated here by President Trump to be the chairman of the CFTC. He was the chairman of the CFTC during the first administration for Trump. He's going to be coming back. This is very, very, very bullish. Very bullish. This guy's pro-crypto. It's all pro-crypto. It's all game on. We are going higher. Please prepare yourself accordingly. Now, Bitcoin, despite the network sucking, it is going to be continuing to go higher. I still believe that. Bitcoin confirmation times reach a record 19 minutes in 2025 due to severe network congestion, block size limits, and rising fees. Simple solution, put it on the XRP ledger and let's get it moving. Like I said, the network congestion, all that problem, it's not going to stop Bitcoin from going higher. And the setup here for the rest of the assets that are set to get ETFs approved here is looking tremendous as well. Look at what the ETFs did for Bitcoin. Now look at what it's going to do for some of these altcoins. I think it might even do better for some of these altcoins, which I don't really consider XRP to be an altcoin, but that's what they call it. Now, let me actually check. You probably can't see that. Let me pull up this right here. So I went to Grok because right now we're waiting to see the XRP ETFs, the form 19B4, could potentially be acknowledged actually tomorrow, is what Eleanor Terra is reporting on right now. So the review period begins once the SEC acknowledges the form 19B4 filings. A review period starts, and this period can last up to 240 days. Now, I went back to go look. I asked when the spot Bitcoin ETF form 19B forms were approved, and they were approved on January 10th, and that was the day before the ETFs went live. And the forms were filed, and they were amended January 5th for the Grayscale one. And funny enough, I actually pulled this up, and it's interesting. If you go look here at Grayscale on January 5th, 2024, they put out a tweet saying that they have amended their Form 19B4 to uplist GBTC as a spot Bitcoin ETF. But what's funny is it also pulls up this tweet from October of 2021. That's when Grayscale originally filed to make their trust into a Bitcoin ETF. And remember, that was the lawsuit that they had to go through. So the process for the Bitcoin ETF from Grayscale took over 3 years, right, from 2021 to 2024. Now, obviously, once the S1s were submitted and then the 19B forms were basically sent in, and then they had to make a couple amendments, and they had to make a few amendments to some of the other ones too, but then they went live shortly thereafter with all 11 spot ETFs on the same day. So now we're waiting to see when the XRP form 19B4s are going to be acknowledged. Once the SEC acknowledges them, they have a 240-day review period. But this could happen a lot faster than 240 days with a new SEC that we're dealing with. Remember, Grayscale had to sue Gary Gensler's SEC to get approval to move forward. This time around, we got a different SEC that we're negotiating with at the table. So I'm expecting this to happen much sooner. Folks have been asking me, will the ETFs be approved before the case ends? I don't believe so, but they could streamline it. They definitely could. I mean, it's really a toss-up. Nobody knows, but we're right here. We're right at the finish line for the case concluding and for the ETFs being approved. And when I combine this with our broader macro analysis on this inflation cycle and what's coming, and they once again, this is a setup to crash the stock market under Trump, to return inflation under Trump. Trump's only been in office for 9-10 days in January, and you already know the talking head pundits on mainstream media are blaming Trump for the inflation that we tracked in January. Right? Even though the reversal started in September and the Fed was, their last ditch effort to cut rates and keep the economy afloat till the election, it still failed. But this proves that we're moving higher. This proves that the bull run is still here, and it's going to pick up and continue to accelerate here soon, very soon. When we go back, I'm going to show you this chart one more time, and then I'm going to show you the XRP chart real quickly. This is the CPI reports you can see for Bitcoin. Every time that CPI lie comes out, Bitcoin moves higher the last 5 times. Now let's slide over to our XRP chart. You can see we did wick down a little bit here this morning, but now we're moving back up, $2.45. And what I'm noting here on the XRP chart is we are setting higher lows right here. Boom, boom, boom. After the largest liquidation event in the history of cryptocurrency, we are building structure here once again between 230, 250, getting primed and ready to test up here towards $3 once again. We're ready to move. Bitcoin, how about that for a green candle? Bitcoin setting lower lows, but finally recovering here up to 97,000 right now. So we really need Bitcoin to flip. But if you look at that XRP structure, it's fantastic. So I'm not going anywhere. Hope you guys aren't going anywhere. Make sure you guys subscribe, hit that notification bell. Your bull run has been confirmed. and please prepare yourself accordingly. All of my resources are available at ZachRector.com, and we will be adding the XRP monkey shirt to the merch here soon. So stay tuned for that. I appreciate your support, and we'll see you in the next one. God bless you all. I am your host, Zach Rector. I really appreciate all of the love and support. If you want to support the channel, just remember that you can start by smashing that thumbs up for me, sharing this content far and wide, and everything else is at my website.